and welcome back to another episode of OHKO, a Pokemon VGC podcast. A day late, but still had to make sure we could upload for this week, as there is a West Regional to talk about, an upcoming one, and of course, a lot of stuff about the Switch pre-orders, all of that. So, welcome in, everyone. My name's Sierra Dawn. I'll be one of your hosts, joined here by my co-host, Joe Brown. We were talking about getting a guest maybe for this week, but then, it was my birthday, and then I was busy, and I was working. So, thank you. But yeah, we're recording late, so we didn't get a guest. But I'm glad we still get to have an episode out.
Yeah, absolutely. A day late, dollar short, whatever the phrase is. We just want to make sure we get an episode out every week because the OHKO fans are clamoring for it, Sierra. They want to see. Yes, that's rumor has it that they're like, where's the episode? Dark Knight, where is she? Where's OHKO? That's what they're saying.
Oh, okay. Now I know. Okay, so we can never miss an episode again.
Ever again. Or Moggy will be very upset. He'll be very sad.
I like you specifically call out Moggy.
Dude, did you see his Lunala that he crafted together and made a shiny Lunala? Very talented young man.
I know. I could never. But it's okay. But a couple things to talk about. I think the biggest one, though, all the news, a little away from VGC, but of course, very relevant considering it's played on the system, but talk about the Switch 2, because pre-orders just went up. I know that I had previously expressed that I did not fit under the qualifications for a Switch 2 pre-order, but they ended up doing pre-orders through a bunch of sites, so maybe I could have been okay. Regardless, I'm broke, so I didn't even try. Did you try and go for a Switch 2 pre-order?
I was going to, and then I also had the same realization that I was broke, So I was like, because obviously I wouldn't have to put all 500 of it up right now, right? But I'm thinking, okay, it's 6 weeks away, Sierra. It's really not that far.
Yeah.
From now, it's different than other pre-orders where if the console's coming out in October or November, I'm like, all right, I'll start saving up every week and I'll do the pre-order now, right? Sometimes you do that with a collector's edition or a statue or whatever. I'll do the pre-order now, make sure I get it, and then I have 6 months to build up the amount for when it gets shipped. That's when they charge you. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna have it in 6 weeks. It is coming so quickly. I think. I'm excited that's coming, but I think one of our blessings is we could luck out, Sierra, that if we wait after this initial batch, we could get a Legend ZA Switch or something, right? Because they made Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee Switches, or maybe I'll wait for a Metroid Prime Switch to come out or something, So have it this could actually work out in our favor. Sure, we're missing out on Mario Kart on launch, which I'm very excited to play that game. Maybe I'll go over to a friend's house that gets the Switch 2 on launch day. But I think in the long run, we might make out better because we might get a cooler looking Switch.
Yeah, I think for myself too, I normally very much so am the I need this on launch sort of person, right?
Yeah, same.
I think this might be one of the bigger consoles or bigger things that I've not gone for a pre-order. I've not been stressed about. The fact that I didn't really have a choice really helped in that, at some point.
It's easier pill to swallow. Yeah.
Yeah, but it got me to, think about, if I needed the Switch at launch. And realistically, the games that I play, I don't need them on Switch 2 right away. I've played through the games. There's nothing that gets a DLC that's for Switch 2 with extra story that, I personally really play. If they had, an additional story for Scarlet Violet that you could only get with a Switch 2, I would be out in the streets right now begging for money for this pre-order, right?
We'll cast for Switch 2 money,
Exactly, right? But that isn't the case. And there's not really for Animal Crossing, Stardew, the games that I'm actually really consistently playing, right? So I was like, you know what? I actually really don't need this, especially too, the games that I would want to enjoy on Switch 2 would be Legend ZA. And if there is an exclusive Switch 2, that would be awesome. But even if there's not, I don't need a Switch 2 until this game is about to come out. And I'm sure at that point in development, they'll start having Switch 2s.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the thing I find fascinating about Nintendo's decision, right, is with the kind of loyalty program. I don't know what they're calling it, but the way you have to be eligible with the X amount of hours and X amount of years with the program or whatever to be eligible for the pre-order for them is like, do they not know how successful their own product is? Because like they've sold like 100 million Switches in the last 7 years. So there's a lot of people that, even though unfortunately Sierra doesn't fit because you're not in the account holder or whatever, there's hundreds of millions of Switches out there. So there's easily millions and millions and millions of people that do fit that category. And they came out and they're like, we were, not prepared for this volume of pre-orders. So it's like, you sold 100 million of them. What do you mean you weren't ready for 9 million pre-orders? Of course, the retention rate is going to be that high. So I just think that's interesting that like it was a cool gesture that they made to like make it loyalty program style. Like you invest in us, we'll give you, investment back. But it was like, oh, I guess our fans were more loyal than we thought. Like these are Nintendo fans. Like, what do you mean the most loyal in the in the world, in the whole gaming world?
I think just because of the fact that it isn't new, it's not like going from the DS to the Switch type thing, or like GameCube to Wii or any of the things. Like realistically, whether you got a Switch 2 or not, you probably already have a Switch. And there's not really anything crazy on launch to where it's like, oh my gosh. I think the one thing actually, like rethinking, I don't know, can't remember if it is on launch, but the GameCube library is actually
that's on launch. Yeah, that's just by having the big whatever expansion.
That actually is program. Like the one disappointment, because I did want to play Coliseum and like stuff on stream sooner rather than later, but like I'll live. But yeah, I think just because of the fact it is Switch to Switch 2 and it is in like a weird kind of season being in the summer as opposed to holidays. But I also feel like there's a strategicness to it all. Like if the system's highly anticipated, then they get their bag and then they're going to re-get their bag when they come out with the second wave, and then they're going to get their bag on the third wave, and then they get that bag again at Christmas. And it's like the FOMO, right? Oh, we don't really have that much, so everyone has to clamor to get it. Oh, we've done a second wave, everyone has to clamor to get it. It's like exclusive, like.
And yeah, Nintendo, if they love anything like in life, it is certainly false scarcity. That is what is one of Nintendo's bread and butter combos, is false scarcity to make it more appealing for you to pick up as early as possible. Did you also see, I don't know if it was RK9 or whoever confirmed, I saw it in the Discord that for NAIC the Switch 2 is not accessible, and they showed that in the sign up slip. So I know there was a big conversation about that because they're like, oh, you can play Scarlet and Violet on the Switch 2, and Switch 2 comes out a week before NAIC. What's going to happen? Blah, blah, blah. And they just flat out said, like, no, do not. If you try to play on the Switch 2, like, you're losing.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because we even had the discussion on the podcast, like, and then there was like a lot of discussion in the Discord, because basically the two sides of it is a huge company. It's like a huge company. If they wanted to, they really like realistically could. But how far that company really extends down to the nitty gritty of what happens at a competition, which is then stuff like the docs, right? So and then whether that's a priority, which I don't think their Play Pokemon program for VGC that has maximum, I mean, great, the competition, I think it's like 1,400 for NAIC signed up. Great. You're looking at selling millions of consoles around the world. I don't think the 1,400 people that might be affected for a Pokemon competition is like the top of the priority list whatsoever. So I'm really not surprised by this. It's one of those, it'd be nice, but
yeah.
I look at all the things that have happened in the past, the whole Japan Open incident, Baltimore can't get the bat. Like I look at all of that, and it also goes back to, okay, if the big company wanted to, they could, but realistically, how much do they have to say at the smaller level? So yeah, and if you haven't seen the notice and you're kind of like, oh, what are they really talking about? You got to switch to. You cannot use it at NAIC. Point blank, simple. Do not be surprised. They say it. I don't know if they said it before the registration. I didn't look. I don't think anyone.
It was before.
It was said before.
Yeah,
okay.
Because registration was what, Tuesday or Wednesday of this week? What day was it?
It was Tuesday.
Tuesday. Yeah. This was last week. I saw it in the Discord, or maybe over the weekend.
It was, the post was said, like, sorry. So I meant like when you attempt on Arcanine to register.
Oh,
I don't know
gotcha,
if it
gotcha.
said before you register, but nobody looks at that because it's just like
Because you have
you gotta
5
click all the
milliseconds to.
yeah, you gotta click all the accept buttons. So I don't know. I didn't get an opportunity to look if they do say it before you sign up on Arcanine, but they do have a big thing after you are registered. Hey, you cannot compete with a Switch 2. Do not even try. You
Yeah.
will not have a good time. So at least they have a definitive answer, even if it's not the one that everyone would have liked.
I'm personally totally okay with this. I think it should go a step further. I think Play Pokemon could make a tweet announcement and just to get all the confusion out, saying that Switch 2s are not eligible until after Worlds in Anaheim.
Yeah.
Just let everybody know right now. A lot of times, at least the community, we feel as if it's information might come too late or maybe not at all. So I think it would just be an easy home run for Pokemon to come out right now and be like, here in May, like, or let's say the day that the Switch launches, like, have some little photo of Pikachu holding a Switch or something, like, congratulations and help you have fun with the new Switch 2. However, for officially sanctioned tournaments, Switch 2 is not an eligible product until September 1st or whenever our first regional is. Like that would be nice of them to come out now and tell people so nobody goes into all of the summer practice for Worlds and like I could have been world champion, but I moved my account to the Switch too.
I think that like they definitely should say something. I think realistically, if you signed up for the competition, there is a big box, like it's right there because I registered for NAIC. It is right there. If you, my cat is being honestly,
your cat's going crazy. For our audio listeners, you're missing out on
Jeez, well, you can't even see it on the camera, but like I have the pile of Piplups and Mews like on a shelf. He just knocked all of them over. There is just a pile of Piplups on the floor right now.
You just witnessed the murder in the middle of a podcast.
Yeah, like, oh my god. But yeah, I think like realistically, like Play Pokemon should say something. I don't think that they necessarily need to at this point because I think if you're registering for a competitive event and there is this big pop-up box in your face that says you cannot use the Switch 2 and you're like, I'm gonna do it anyways. Like at that point, you just didn't read your registration.
To be champion at that point.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying like we shouldn't be surprised at this point. I do think if anything, like it'd be cool if Play Pokemon said something now. I don't think it's necessarily the most necessary. I think I would have liked to see them say that before registration was
for
up.
Sure. Yeah.
So people didn't register and then were under false pretenses. But if you have already registered for the event and you're surprised because you did not read the pop-up box in your face. But I do think that going into NAIC, like even a week before, I do think that there should be a mandatory follow-up that Play Pokemon tweets out as a reminder.
Yes.
Because just in case anyone forgets, but yeah, like there's steps you have to take to compete. You have to make sure your birthday's right, email's right, like your pop ID, you got to agree to all this stuff. So if you're missing out on the Switch 2 thing, at that point, I just don't know what to tell you. That's just like showing up to the event and just like not having the game. And you're like, well, I didn't read the print. I didn't know. Like,
I thought we should have
known.
I thought we were playing Gale of Darkness right now.
At that point, yeah. Not to put it on the consumer. I definitely think Pokemon should tweet about it, but like the fact that Arcanine has that in big letters, like, come on.
Now you did mention, so you got into NAIC, so congrats. Yes. So I'll see you in finals, as you're there. But the process, how was it? Because obviously TCG has like 4,800 people, and this is our 1,400 is all three divisions. The 4,800 TCG is all three divisions, right? So like if TCG's having issues because they're obviously filling max capacity, like how was the VG? Did you hear anybody that didn't get in? Because we've had that at other ICs in the past, right? That people were just like unable to qualify for Worlds just because they were unable to register for the last event of the year.
I could be wrong about TCG, but I thought I saw Chris Brown tweet out about took 38 minutes for NAIC to fill up for TCG because of how many players they allow. If they only allowed 1,400, it would have been sold out in a second instant. But I think it took a little bit for all spots. I also don't know if 38 minutes is counting. Once you like register, you get like 15 minutes to complete payment. And if you don't, then the spot's reallotted. So like technically like 15, those spots open up, 15, those spots open up. And then the last couple stranglers at the 8 minutes, I don't know if then maybe that was more so the case and it did sell out instantly. But for VG, I've never missed any registration, even back when I played TCG and things did sell out in a second. So I personally was fine. Like, you set an alarm 2 minutes before the time. You make sure the page is open. And if you click the time thing on your computer, you can see the second. Like, it's the second that it turns. Like, for me, it was 8 o'clock. The second it turns to 8 o'clock, you click that button. There's like, you do not wait an additional second. Click every check bar, you go. So I didn't have an issue personally. The only person that I saw that whiffed that's a notable player was Lorcy, but then he managed to get in for wave 2, which was really good. So besides that, I'm sure there is people who did whiff, obviously, but I don't think in terms of like competitors that there is anyone that I at least saw notable that missed. Because I know like EUIC last year, James Evans missed out when he intended on competing and he couldn't then go. At NAIC, that there was somebody, but I think it was Eric
Rios, right?
Was it Rios for NAIC?
I believe it was either Rios or another prominent like sponsored EU player that missed out on NAIC registration. I can't remember who.
Yeah, so like it definitely happens with some of these top players, but I think a lot of like the priority registration, I think that's really helped that sort of system out. Regardless of how people feel about it, I do think that like there is merit to it. So I haven't seen anyone too notable of a player miss out. And if I did miss somebody and you're sitting there and you're like, I'm a notable player and I missed out, screw you, Sierra, I apologize. I have just not seen your tweet. I my bad.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I think most people got in. Like, maybe this is, obviously, New Orleans is a very large city, very large venue. So at this point, we have to be swimming in these waters with these cities that have the ability to hold this capacity going forward, right? Because the game is only going to continue to expand, fingers crossed, as we get more popular and Champions comes out and, all that stuff. So I think it's
protein powder.
I was gonna say, what is that? What you drinking milk?
No, it's protein powder, but it clumped up near the top, and I didn't really realize it. So like, I just took a sip of protein powder.
It looked like the milk commercials from back in the day, where people would drink. Attempt number 2. There you go. It's still
powder.
Oh my goodness!
I'm struggling.
So this is one of my struggles, Sierra, is that I've always been fighting the uphill battle with how top cutting events works, and how this community, we were very vocal for a very long time about how bubbling is bad and resistance is bad and everything, right? And so finally, eventually, most of the people who do feel that same way won out. And I know I'm definitely in the minority on liking how the old system was with clean top cuts and having resistance and whatever. And just one of my thoughts is we have 1,400 people in New Orleans for NAIC. And we're probably going to have roughly the same amount of a top cut that Vancouver had, which had 400 players, but it had 24 people make top cut. And so I think that's when I'm wondering what your opinion is on it, because I'm looking at it and I see the numbers. I'm like, man, if 24 people made top cut of a 400 player event, we're probably going to have 22, 23, 24 of this 1,400 player event in New Orleans too. And like, they both top cut, but it's at severely different player rates. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so you're saying that you liked the old system, that you could get the same record as somebody but bubble out of top cut because resistant? Okay. I'm complete opposite side of the coin. So I think an important thing for the events when you are saying that like somebody top cut an event or day 2 an event, I do think it is an important marker to look at the size of the event. I think like I top cut a 1,200 person event is definitely more like a bit more merit to it than top cut a 400. Not that top cutting a 400 isn't impressive,
for sure,
but looking at like everything else, I do like the new system a lot better though. I think that like resistance maybe in some cases is needed for the parryings, etc., because that's just how the system is. But I think it's so inherently bad that you can win the same amount of games as somebody in top cut and not make top cut. Like I just don't think that's really fair. Personally, I get like the strength of schedule, I get all that stuff, but that's out of your control, right? It's not like you went and like I'm going to go play like I think the worst team this first round, so I have a better shot of making it. You didn't make that decision, right? That was a system that just randomized it and you just got the luck of the draw that your schedule sucked. Much like, some people get the god schedule, right? And then everyone that they compete against also does well so that they're boosted in resistance, right? I like the new system as it is. I just think that, yeah, on like a broadcast storytelling, that including the size of the events and everything else is just like a good marker. Like you should be proud if you top cut, but I definitely don't look at like, oh, Vancouver had 24 people. NAIC will have 24 people. That's unfair. Like I like the new system for how it is.
Okay, I get you. I know a lot of people are obviously going to agree with you. It's just in my head, I'm like, I think about the whole history of the game being changed, right? If we had this system the whole time, and if every event we were not that, again, I'm not taking anything away from somebody that gets into top cut. Like it is how put it on your achievement list, put it on, like all the things, because it is something to be celebrated. That is the system we play with. But like over the last 10 years, like the people that were being able to consistently make it in that top 8 somehow, even though maybe others were finishing 9th, 10th, and 11th, like with the same record. Like it felt like there was some type of proof to the pudding. Like there was some type of like, this player who's consistently getting top 8 is proving that. And I feel like, I don't know, not that it diminishes accomplishment, because it doesn't. You should still celebrate it. It still is a great accomplishment to make it, but it definitely widens the pool. It feels definitely less impactful to have a 24 player top cut of an event, because now a much wider percentage of the player base actually accomplished that achievement. You know what I mean?
I understand. I think it's maybe a little bit of like old school mentality versus new school. And then just like for myself, flipping the way that I kind of look at it. Because when I think back to like, obviously you talk about the history of the game, and that is something I'll definitely defer to you a little bit more on, because I wasn't around for a lot of that, right? But like my first impressions is looking back at it is there was a potential for a lot of great standout players to then maybe rewrite that history, or they could have been in that top cut. They could have won. They maybe had the call, anything else, and didn't get that because of a random number chance thing that they had no control after. So it's like, it's great of those players that were consistently able to top cut, but somebody that showed up to every tournament and has that same record, they just didn't get a chance to prove that they were at the equal level. Like that is also worth something. Like I know there is a friend of mine that like every tournament they go to, they bubble. Every single one, whether it's top cut, like they haven't been playing this year. They haven't really been playing since the changes, but they would always bubble. And then a tournament that doesn't necessarily go so well, but there's money, like an international, they bubbled every single time. They bubble. They get the same record, and every single time they bubble, but they have the skills to consistently get these, like, the same amount of wins, but maybe just the unluckiest person, whatever. Like, I don't know what they did in the past lifetime for them to just get smited by the RNG Arcanine gods in this lifetime, but it's just crazy. But that's where I, like, look at it, and it's like, I don't think that somebody making top cut at 8-2 is more impressive than someone who whiffed top cut at 8-2. I think it's both impressive. One just didn't get the chance to prove that they had the fight. And I think too, with the new system, since Swiss rounds are taken away on day 2, if you are really looking for that, oh, well, top 8 cut was more impressive than like what we're having for these, like, because before it was just top cut and it was only a top 8, right?
Yep.
We still have top 8, right? It's just you can use then the terminology top cut or top 8, because there is like the top 32, top 16, top 8. And realistically, if we're having 3 rounds of Swiss on, because it used to be 5 rounds of Swiss additional on day 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we've taken away 2 rounds of Swiss. That's then the round of 32 and the round of 16. that equals in 5 rounds. If you're winning, then all your matches on the day 2 and on your like in the old system, you'd have to essentially win out on day 2 to make top cut because it was so hard to get. Now you win your Swiss, you can then win your top 32, top 16, or you just did so good you only win your top 16, and you've still made that top 8 cut at realistically what would be the same record within the old system. You just don't get screwed by numbers this time.
Right.
So that's even then something if you're looking, instead of just being like, oh, well, I have to like go by top cut, you could just be like, oh, I'm just going by top 8, you know? Like,
yeah,
it's also valid.
It just, I don't know. I understand where you come from, that like top cutting and top 8ing aren't the same, but it does feel, it would feel bad to say that out loud, right? to a person that finished 19th and say like, yeah, but like, okay, but this guy, you know, but James Beck got top 8 and you got 19th, so you both top cut, but it's not this. It just it's like a bad feeling to say.
I mean, it depends on how you say it. Like realistically, like 19th is top 32, top 8 is top 8.
I know,
if somebody
cut,
can't
right?
look like it's like, well, if you're going to somebody and you're like, your top cut actually wasn't legitimate because it wasn't a top 8, well then yeah, that's a dick move, right?
Actually,
but like if somebody's like, yeah, I got 19th, so yeah, I basically top 4 just like James Beck did. Okay, well that person's just being a little like,
but literally, Sarah, we know people that do act like that. That like, not like, I don't mean a physical actual person. I mean like there's definitely conversations in the community that all spots in cut are created equal, and therefore because I cut it 21st, it's the same thing as the guy that finished in 8th. Like there's definitely that mentality since we have changed over to this system. And one of the things that like, I remember people talked about it when the system came in place, if we just added the one more round of Swiss, usually it'd only be like 11 or 12 people, or maybe only 10 that get in. That to me feels like a little easier pill to swallow than 24 people making top cut.
First off, I think the people that are trying to argue that their 19th spot is the same as top 4, it's just gotta like maybe it's because people have diminished their worth, so they feel like they have to prove themselves and defend their accomplishment. It's still a great accomplishment, but I think people should be realistic in understanding that 19th is not the same as 4th. It's like the same as top 8th is still not the same as a win, right? Congratulations on top 8. Amazing accomplishment, but realistically, you should know that it's not quite the same, right? I think where I like the new system is it actually brings a lot more clarity to that, right? Whereas before, when it was just the top 8, there could be ambiguity.
Ambiguity. I got
yes, that word. I shouldn't try and say words I know I can't pronounce. But if you got 9th place and somebody got 8th at the same record, you didn't top cut, but I do think there actually is a very legitimate claim. I was as good as 8th place. I was as good as 7th. I was as good as 6th. I just didn't get the chance to prove that I was better, right? Whereas I think with the new system, since it cuts out easier, it's very plain and simple. Did you lose in round of 32? No? Okay, well then you're technically placed better than someone who did lose in the round of 32, right? It's not ambiguous at that point. You simply just did not win. It did not come down to numbers to where like you could say, well, I was better, but Arcanine hates me. Like, no, you just lost your top 32 match.
Yeah.
Simple, right? And anyone that wants to say like 19th is the same as 4th, I think that's just like whether they should still be proud of what they did.
Absolutely.
Always. But they just got to recognize it's not quite the same. Like I could be proud for like casting a regional finals, right? But it ain't the same as casting world's finals. Like it'll never be the same, right? But I should still be proud of what I'm doing. It's just ain't the same.
Yeah. Listen, I don't have a pitchfork. I'm not asking for anything to change. It came to my head as I was looking at the registration numbers, and I was just wondering what your thoughts on it, were. I'm not asking for anything to change.
I definitely think in the scene, what is a really interesting conversation, I know it's a conversation that we've had like as a casting team, and then this even just like kind of brings that up, is the thoughts about the changes to the game with the growth of the game, because it is a very, very different game than when it started. It's a very different game than when you started. And I joined so late, and it's still a different game from when I started, right? And I think too that it's interesting with when people entered the scene with thoughts, and then that balance between keeping VG as like this game that you knew at the beginning into okay, well, understanding where it has to expand to realistically grow, because it'll never be the same, right?
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's an interesting conversation is all.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I'm excited for NAIC. Like I said, I registered. I think actually
Are you gonna I don't mean to diminish Slitherwing here. Does Slitherwing
I'm not
have to be on the team, or will you use a quote unquote real team?
I mean, I got months to figure it out, but I want to day 2. That is my goal, is I want a day 2. I think actually this was also like an unavoidable thing with the circuit, but if we're talking about changes that like, not sure about how we feel about them going on later, this is how I felt since the beginning of the year with the world qualification changes, and I saw someone express it on Twitter as well, but I feel terrible for competing at NAIC and taking a spot away from somebody who is trying to compete for their world's invite and that has a better shot of making their world's invite than me. Because realistically, for myself, unless I top 4, I am not getting a world's invite. I have not competed in a single event this season. I have no championship points. I would only be able to qualify for worlds with a top 4, right? Whereas there is people that are on the top 75 or below that getting a decent amount of points, which internationals pay out a really good amount of points, could maybe actually get into the top 75 to get their invite. Since it is all left down to the final event of the season where that top 75 standing is. And someone else expressed it as well. They're like, I feel bad that I'm competing because I'm competing for fun. I don't want an invite. And that I think is an interesting one because it's counterproductive for the growth of the game to exclude people who want to play for fun, right? Like at the end of the day, like if you want, it's an open event. If you want to compete, you should be able to compete no matter what you want to compete for. But it just feels really poopy to know that there is a chance that I will be the reason that somebody doesn't get their world's invite.
I understand where you're coming from. I can definitely understand sentiment, and I know a lot of people also feel the same way. Like, oh, it's so bad if I rockslide flinch him out of a world's invite or whatever. But like, you know, and like I'm just here for fun. And my response would be, it's always been that way. Like NAIC has always had that same issue of like somebody else. Even last year, right? Like Patrick Connors won. He needed top 16 to qualify for worlds in the old system, right? So if in his top 32 match, he lost to someone that was playing for fun, it was still the same thing. He still would have lost his chance at the world's invite from someone that didn't need the CP, right? So
Yeah.
I think it's just I understand it's a different system we have in place now for qualifying, but it is effectively the same thing. And like, I don't want to be like the Dark Souls Elden Ring tryhard guy, because I don't even play those games, but it's like hardcore, like, oh, if you can't beat the guy that's there for fun, you don't deserve to go to Worlds anyway. Like, obviously say it in a nicer way than that, but like, not that like your win would be diminished if you were to beat the 76th best player in the country, right? And then you get the win, and then they don't qualify for Worlds because of it. Like, okay, well then you didn't deserve it, right? Like, we're trying to raise the bar on Worlds right now. The last couple of years, Worlds has been a little more open than TBCI would like it to be. So, like, it'd be like that sometimes, Sierra. If you can't beat Sierra in round 11, with the Slitherwing team, then you didn't deserve to go to Worlds anyway.
I think more so where it is, because I definitely am more so along the belief, as harsh as it sounds, that if you can't win your matches, then you don't deserve a spot is really harsh, but more so like at the end of the day,
nobody deserves a spot, right? They all earn an invite.
Yeah, at the end of the day, like it is a world championship spot, and if you are like consistently rolling up and losing, then yeah, that spot isn't going to be there for you, right? So I still feel a bit bad about showing up to a competition and beating somebody, but I mean more so just like the round 0, the registration.
Yes.
Like taking up a slot. Like if I roll up to the event and I'm playing Slitherwing and somebody who needs the points for Worlds is going to lose to me playing Slitherwing, like
then you weren't winning Worlds anyway.
I guess, right? Like you needed to win, right? Like it's a game. If you're not winning, you're losing. Like that sucks. But like it's the round 0. and like the taking up the spot to compete at the event, knowing that like I'm not going for a world's invite and not unless I get top 4, right? Like that's the part I think feels bad, because at least like if somebody is trying to get that spot and they competed and then they just did badly or they lost, fair and not even fair. Like if they just lose, well then that's on them. But if somebody sat there at 8:00 and we both clicked the button at the same time and then I got the spot and they didn't, and they just lost their world's invite because like the registration gave it to me instead, that's the part I feel bad about, you know? Like
I can understand that.
It's an unfortunate part with like the games. Just you can't exclude the people who want to play for fun, because that's, well, what's the point, right?
In theory, the people qualifying
for Worlds, the growth
is
just not sustainable right now.
Want to play for fun, right? Like there should be fun in playing and fun in winning. So everybody should be qualifying, or should be not qualifying.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Everybody should be registering to have fun also, you know?
Well, you know what I mean. Like the people who are not interested in a World's invite.
Yeah.
But still competing at events. Yeah.
But so, I wouldn't stress about it, you know?
No, I still feel bad, but I'm registered, so it's done. It's done. But
yeah.
I'm excited to play though. Like I said, it will be my first event that I'm competing at this season. I stopped competing after last season after a couple of bad experiences competing at events. Not anything to do with the event itself, but like just kind of getting crowded a little bit and not being allowed to just play my game. And I already have enough social anxiety, and that just like totally just like turned me off of playing for a while. So this will be my first one, and I'm nervous because even in TCG, I've had some bad experiences competing. Like I bought a big pair of headphones to have on in between rounds, so I wouldn't have people constantly come up to me like if I wasn't feeling good. And somebody took my headset off to talk to me once.
What?
Yes.
I would have snapped.
Oh dude, and like I would get migraines playing TCG because I look down and like it puts strain on my neck and I get migraine. I'm sitting there with a migraine, I have the headset on, it's crowded, I'm anxious, and bro takes the headset off my head.
That is ridiculous, bro.
Yeah. So I'm nervous, but I'm excited to compete. But yeah, if you see me at NAIC and I'm wearing a headset, if you take it off my head, there is going to be an issue.
What if you wear a wig and like a fake nose and sunglasses and stuff, and then they're not going to know. They're not going to know it's you. Well, actually, they will know when they look at the badge slip and it says Sierra Dawn. I guess they will. They will know.
I won't go that far, but I do have an incognito mode at events that I've learned works really well. Push the hair back, hood on, like hoodie on, and just look down at the ground.
There you go.
I pulled that out at Atlanta. Because like sometimes like you need to be backstage and it's like I need to go to the washroom first, and the washroom's like public, and I'm I need to get there and back without getting stopped. I'm like, jacket on, hood on. The security was all laughing at me. They're like, "Are you cool?" I'm like, "No, I just don't want to get recognized." And they're like,
"You're out here looking like Palpatine, just trying to go to the bathroom."
Yeah, it worked though. It worked.
Hey, whatever gets the job done. I get it. So
yeah, if you also see me with a hood on at an event, I'm probably trying not to be disturbed because I just want to go to the washroom or get food.
Hey, at least you got doors. You got the stalls in between. We got the urinals in the men's room. You get the head nods when people see you in a suit. And
no!
How's it going today? You're like, you know, it happens.
Oh no!
It happens. You got you have the protection once you're in the bathroom. When I'm in there, it's open season.
That's actually
imagine if you're like Wolf or Aaron or somebody, right? Just trying to go to the bathroom real quick. Like everybody's watching you go to the bathroom. It's crazy.
This is not things that I've ever thought about or had to think about.
Yeah,
that's crazy. I am so sorry that y'all have to live that.
It's
my goodness.
It's part of the job.
All right. Well, this is a VG podcast, and we have done anything except for talk about the most recent regional that has happened.
Well, as you learned in our comment section, Sierra, people love when we go off topic. People love hearing about the urinal experience at the regional championships. I think they're down. Yeah.
All right. Well, let us know. Let us know if this was an engaging conversation for you.
Maybe don't let us know about this one. Maybe keep this one to yourself personally.
Oh my goodness.
Goodness.
But yes, regional over the weekend. Monterrey. I think I'm saying that like
Mm-hmm.
that correctly. Monterrey. Maybe
Yep.
there's no like T sound, but yes, that was something. It was not broadcasted, so that was obviously unfortunate, but it is one of those, things. But taking a look over at the results, kind of a shame that it wasn't broadcasted because yeah, this looks like a stacked finals.
Yeah, honestly, the fact I know a lot of the American players like heading to Mexico and Puerto Rico and some other areas that have events. Obviously, this is a regional compared to the special events that are in Puerto Rico most of the time, but uh, it is cool to see so many American players going down there with the finals. Riley and Carson, obviously now two regional champions this season, now retroactively after Riley won this because Carson had already won Sacramento, right? I think this is a cool team from Riley's end, and I think the first thing looking at there's the obvious synergy with Miraidon and Ursaluna. Because, okay, you discharge, it's the old Disquake, except Miraidon's not immune to Earthquake. And so Riley has a way around that. Just don't run Earthquake. Just simply don't have Earthquake, and you don't need to protect your Choice Specs Miraidon. It's just Headlong Rush and Facade, and then Substitute, which you don't see often on Ursaluna sets, because you're already losing health every turn off the Flame Orb, and you're losing 25% more from the Substitute. There's no other way. There's no heal pulse or anything on the team to become healthier. So I think having Ursaluna on this team is very interesting because usually you would see Blood Moon on a Tailwind Miraidon team, right? Because it has just a little bit naturally faster than the regular Ursaluna. And I think I think Substitute, whenever it comes up in formats, remember back when Fluttermane was super huge and people would run Substitute at that point. Like we've seen Substitute on other huge meta threats at different points in the game's history. I think that's hopefully going to affect the meta, and maybe more people start running Substitute for those free turns, like the end of Trick Room, right? If you know your opponent, one Trick Room turn left and your opponent's going to double protect, all right, free sub, now I'm safe in under normal speed conditions.
And just looking through this team, like there is quite a few interesting things, right? So you called it the Ursaluna, everything else. I'm looking at this Miraidon because it has been forever and a day that we've had Terra Fairy Miraidon with Electrodrift, Volt Switch, Dazzling Gleam, and Draco Meteor.
Right.
First off, we knew that Riley is never going to run Draco Meteor because Riley Factura does not run inaccurate moves, and the only times he does, he misses them. Apparently, he also does hit them like quite a few times, and like just let's talk about the times, but you miss one and you're scarred.
Yeah, it's a 50% accuracy,
Yeah, so he runs Dragon Pulse instead of Draco Meteor. I actually don't like. Obviously, Draco Meteor, when you have a 130 base power move, like, as opposed to, I think Dragon Pulse is 90, the KOs that you can get with Draco Meteor is nuts, but I don't actually mind Dragon Pulse just on the whole purpose of you're not lowering, like, it is choice specs. Once you click the move, you're locked into it, and being able to then re-click the move. If you want to hit Dragon Pulse, you're not lowering your special attack. You can actually keep hitting it as opposed to, okay, well, now I have a -2 special attack and now it's not going to do as much. So yeah. As well, instead of Dazzling Gleam, we're having a Terra Ghost. This is cool. So you're not getting faked out. Awesome. Awesome when you have a choice specs team. But Discharge then, instead of Dazzling Gleam, that has fantastic synergy with the Ursaluna.
And the
then
Iron
you look
Crown.
And the Iron Crown is Terra Ground with Terra Blast. So you can threaten, this is just like a delete a Miraidon on the other side button with this. The Miraidon, the fact that you can just discharge and, well, everything like the Urshifu with the Terra Grass, okay, that's not going to be super effective. The Whimsicott does fine next to it. Incineroar has Assault Vest, as long as you don't Terra, that's probably fine too. Or immunity with the Iron Crown after you Terra, and just natural immunity with your Ursaluna. I love that. I think that's a lot of damage. I think that's really awesome. There's a couple people that did play more of a Discharge Miraidon and kind of swapped off of it. But love to see that kind of still kicking around.
Yeah, I think the Discharge is really cool because it's such a strong attack when you add those multipliers with Choice Specs and Hadron Engine and everything. And a lot of people don't go for it because they can't really build their team around it. But Riley's Iron Crown is kind of doing the Farigiraf cosplay, right? Because Farigiraf is usually on this team in that spot with an electric seed. But you have a different psychic type here with Iron Crown, and Iron Crown is typically one of the best Terra Blast users whenever it comes out. Like I remember Justin Karras' Top Cut Psy Spam team where he was a Terra Water with Terra Blast to deal with Incineroars, right? Because he's a Psy Spam team, he's got to deal with that Dark type on the switch in. Obviously, it's the same way with the ground type, hitting the other Miraidons on the other side, still hitting Incineroars for super effective damage. And, Iron Crown with the Tachyon Cutter. Riley likes to hit his moves. He likes to hit them twice, 100% accurate Tachyon Cutters, hitting 2 times and breaking those Focus Sashes, which, as you can see, he has his own Sash Whimsicott. Very important to break that set or Sash. The Dragon Pulse is cool, too, because effectively what Riley is doing, if you watch a lot of his games, like even with his stream match that you casted that in Atlanta, or no, was that Rose and Aaron, the round 8?
It would have been no, I don't believe 7? I casted over Riley.
I forget. Yeah, I think it was the last Swiss round of the day. I forget which one it was. I forget what it was. But basically, you look at his team play there. You look at his win in Pittsburgh. You look at all of his other times that he's on stream. He does have very not slow and steady wins the race damage, but like very consistent damage, which fits the accuracy, quirk as well. So Dragon Pulse is very consistent damage. You're not going to one-shot everything the way that Draco Meteor might, but you're also maybe you're going to two-shot everything. And you're going to have there's other big threats where if this team was the more Arubega style and it had Farigiraf, Farigiraf doesn't do as much damage as Iron Crown. And, if it had the other supportive Pokemon on the team, like you have other threats. You have Arceus, you have Iron Crown, you have Urshifu. That Miraidon does not have to 1v4 the game. It does not have to Draco and knock everything out immediately. You can get everything into chip range for Ursaluna or Iron Crown or Urshifu to finish them off.
I'm just looking back too, because Riley, I mean, if you're talking about like the slope and consistent damage, like I'm just like pinpointed on the consistent, because that's what just Riley is in general. When you're looking at the fact that moves can't miss, etc., and like what he wants to lean into, there's a reason that like Riley's talked about so much on the broadcast, right? And this team, when you're looking at consistency, like Riley doesn't really switch things up the most often. Right. He's been running this team for a while now, like
just like that Dragonite team he was running for a long time.
Yeah, like it's very much so like find something that works and just like perfected it. I think there's only been 2 changes to the team since Merida, which I'm totally pronouncing wrong, I'm sure. So 2.5 months ago, which is the Terrestrialization on the Incineroar, as well as now running Psychic as opposed to Psyshock on the Iron Crown. And maybe some EV spreads, I don't know. But and like I haven't looked further back because I didn't really look most deeply into it beforehand. But I think that's also just like super, super impressive all around, and like has been getting like good results too. Looks like San Antonio maybe didn't make day 2, but again, same team. So it's been running the same since Reg I 2.0. So something else to talk about for Riley, like if you want to talk about consistency, going back to just like this tab, I cannot remember the last time that somebody who went undefeated in Swiss won the event, because that's like the curse, right? And if I'm forgetting a recent incident, like let me know. But I'm pretty sure it's been a while since somebody has gone undefeated in Swiss and then won the event.
Was Wolf in Toronto undefeated? I can't even remember off the top of my head.
I thought he lost. He lost at one point. I'm fairly positive. I don't. I feel like there would have been the part, because I casted the Toronto finals. I would have, I feel, called out undefeated.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, you're right.
And like, I'm not recalling that.
It's very. It's very hard to do, because obviously going 9-0.
He went 9-2.
Okay, so then going 9-0 on its own is obviously difficult. It's obviously difficult enough, and then you're adding the top cut matches against the other best players in the tournament too, so it's even more difficult to achieve. So shout out to Riley and the curse, the first seed curse. Yeah, everybody talks about.
I would have loved to watch his finals. So as we said, this is a stacked finals, like 2 very, very accomplished players. Carson in the second place, and with this team, oh my goodness, Brute Bonnet has had the biggest glow up of all, and we also have Tinkaton on the team. It's something that we saw actually back in Vancouver.
Yes, that's right.
Vancouver, yeah. Got to see a Tinkaton. It's funny because like there is going to be a moment where like Tinkaton gets like the final KO of the match, but then the other person conceded and Tinkaton didn't get to. Or like, it was life orb recoil after the Pokemon attacked, so it self KO'd as opposed to Tinkaton getting the KO. And it was like this big like what moment, but no, like this team, like now this is a cute little team. Loaded Dice Koraidon with Scale Shot. You got the Walking Wake, which is the bane of my existence. You got the choice spec, so you actually do damage, but then you're locked. And oh my goodness, this is Photosynthesis team through and through.
Yeah, I was wondering how you would feel with Carson getting second with Walking Wake, who's been your op since day one. You've tried so hard to make that Pokemon
I love
work.
Walking Wake, but like it just ain't working. Like,
I think it's the Weather Ball. Honestly, the Weather Ball is like what makes it huge, because either you are Weather Ball and Kyogre comes in, your Terra Water, you're hitting really hard, or you have your Sun team, which is what it's built around with the Photosynthesis and choice specs. Chi-Yu, I'm sure, also helps. As Chi-Yu and Walking Away, it's a very fast team, right? Even Tinkaton is actually sneaky fast. I think it's like 95 speed or something, so most people don't anticipate it. So I'm not sure. I guess the Trick Room matchup is for Brute Bonnet to put the Ice Rider Lunala to sleep. I'm not sure how it works, but everything else in this team is actually incredibly fast, and it doesn't have Tailwind. It's just the Icy Wind on Focus Ash Fluttermane. So I think this is like a really good sign. One, as you mentioned, Brute Bonnet's glow up over the last two events with our North Carolina crew popping off in Top Cut with it, and then here with Carson. Like, I think this is a good sign going into Regulation I that these past paradoxes that have felt like so underwhelming, except for Fluttermane for the last year or so. Like, they're like, I'd say both future and past were good in the first year of VGC, but the last year, once the power shift really got the big boys in play, besides Fluttermane, most of them, like obviously Justin Tang had the Roaring Moon, but for the most part, past paradoxes have been slipping. Raging Bolt doesn't count. He was busted on purpose in DLC, whatever. Yeah. But having Brute Bonnet, having Walking Wake, having Fluttermane, like even Roaring Moon, I'm sure will come back in Reg I. Like, I'm very excited to see. And Tinkaton Sierra, it's just the best typing of all time. Fairy Steel is statistically the strongest typing. I think it has 10 resistances and immunities combined. It's only weak to fire and ground, so it's just a phenomenal typing. And then if there is one thing that you don't want to deal with, you can use the Terra Dragon to resist the main elements too.
I'm curious about you saying that you feel like this glow up right before Reg I is good, because Reg I should be good for these Pokemon. Like, am I misunderstanding that? Well,
because now Koraidon, Koraidon or Groudon could be the secondary restricted on a team, where before you would have to build the whole team around Koraidon. So that was why you'd have to use Brute Bonnet and Fluttermane and Walking Wake and the other past paradoxes, where now if Koraidon's the second carry, the second restricted slot, it's more likely that you can keep Sun on the field for your Photosynthesis mons. Like with Xerneas Groudon, right? Zerndon was dominating the world. Very clearly, Groudon was in the Robin position to Xerneas' Batman, right? So I think with Reg I, there could be a world where Koraidon is there kind of for its own big damage that it can provide, but also to supplement these Photosynthesis Pokemon as well. It's more likely because you don't have to always have Koraidon on the field. Now it's a secondary. You can swap it in and out more often because you have another powerful Pokemon to deal with Koraidon's biggest threats.
Yeah, I'm curious how it's all going to work out, because like on paper, yes, but then also since you're always going to run two restricteds, then that's one Pokemon you have to take away from the team. And if you're looking at your Urshifus and your Incineroars and your Rillabooms, then it's like a little weird again. Pokemon are like Torn should be decent because, speed control. If you want Raging Bolt, then that's the spot. So it'll be interesting. There is a Victory Road challenge that we'll talk about in a moment, but anything else? Of course, look at Monterrey, kind of look over at the teams. This is not going to be the final Reg G event. There is going to be Seville over the weekend.
Right.
But kind of like a look at this. There is an Iron Boulder in 7th place, which is
that's awesome. Let's take a look at that.
Catching my attention. It is.
It's got Iron Hands. It's got Iron Boulder, Miraidon, Electric Seed for Farigiraf. Like, this team is all built around the the Miraidon and the future mons. I like when there's cohesion like that, Sierra, where you're able to, you have Koraidon and a bunch of past Pokemon, and then in the same top cut is Miraidon and a bunch of future Pokemon. It's like, it's thematic, they're all friends hanging out.
They're all friends hanging out.
Hold on a second. Excuse me. Ogerpon with Focus Energy, Ivy Cudgel, just guaranteeing the crits. That's awesome.
Yeah, there's been a couple Focus Energy Ogerpons like kind of popping up. I like having the option of, having a grass type move, personally, but I don't know, the amount of damage and like the amount of pressure after like one Focus Energy that you put on the other team with already just having like super boosted Ivy Cudgels, like, you know what? Like, why not?
Feel like this team is in desperate need of facing a Gastrodon. You know what I mean? With the no grass attacks, like Gastrodon's just okay. Miraidon, boom. Iron Hands, boom. Terrifier, Ogerpon, boom. Like Iron Boulder's weak to ground, also, boom. It works out that way. But the Iron Boulder is cool. It's a very fast Pokemon. I think people they just wish that Mighty Cleave. They want Mighty Cleave to be something it's not. So often they don't use it. Like they want it to be an accurate Rock Slide. It's just not. It's just a single target, very strong rock attack, and I think that's what holds Iron Boulder back. But as we know, with Cornerstone and with all the Rock Slide users over the last 15 years, like Rock is a really strong offensive attack, and especially if you mentioned Tornadus is going to come back to set the weather, and some of these other and Ho-Ohs out there or whatever. Like I think Iron Boulder with Mighty Cleave is just really a very strong attack. It's the choice band. I didn't even think of that. That's probably, I feel like I missed a lot of KOs just barely with Iron Boulder. So the choice band with the Quark Drive activated is probably making those Mighty Cleaves hit mighty hard.
I think the spiciest team, I saw this team and I'm like, what? And then I saw who it was by and I'm like, we have VJ soon.
Yeah.
Let's go. In case like y'all don't know,
Three fairy types.
So on the broadcast end of it, we'll get to look at like what people are using and stuff, and like BJ is Sylveon, Meowscarada, Inkatun's like strongest soldier. Like respect, no matter what the regulation, he comes on through and he's like, I'm making these work, and always actually gets like a positive record. Like I don't think there's many events where VJ goes negative, but is not making day 2. It's always like just loses the win in or just loses out. So VJ 10th place at Monterrey with awesome. This team. Yeah, good stuff, VJ. Good stuff.
Dude, the Specs Terapagos too is like, I love how this team works because it's just all out. Like usually people have a full defensive core around Terapagos, right? Like I'm gonna have this balanced team and let Terapagos chip everything down. He's like, nah, Scarf Zapdos, Sash Meowscarada, like just 3 fairy types on the squad. Like I'm trying to win by turn 3, You know
what? Respect. But like, yeah, you look back at like his Pokédata and there is always, no matter the format, Meowscarada, the Tinkaton, and the Sylveon.
So
and
funny.
Like, yeah, so many like close to day 2ing and then not quite. Like the amount of 5 3s or like 6 3s when it was 9 Swiss on day 1, like it's just absolutely crazy.
That stellar Terra Meowscarada with knockoff and sucker punch, that's no joke. That's some good damage there if it's not intimidated, which that's why Zapdos is here, right? With Defiant to hinder, because Meowscarada is just Incineroar fodder, right? You have grass and dark attacks. You literally can't do anything to the Incineroar. But those Flower Trick guaranteed crits, those Stellar Terra sucker punches into Shadow Rider. Shadow Rider's not safe on the field if Meowscarada is here. I think it's I'm always happy to see this team do well.
I know. I like my own opinions about the game is this team shouldn't work and it should always lose, just because like I see all of this and I'm like, I cannot comprehend how it all reasonably works, right? But like, and I think a lot of the time that like you should look at a meta and be like, what should be strong into this, blah blah blah. But like I have respect, a mad level of respect for just the sheer consistency and determination to make the core of those 3 Pokemon work. when they're so against the meta and then consistently like being close to day 2ing at these events, regardless of what the meta is, regardless of what's good or not. It's like, I'm sticking with these 3. I don't care. I am going to win with my favorites. And like, I respect it. It makes me wonder like what he could do. Cause like again, I look at this team on paper and I'm like, I could not win with this team. I could not in a million lifetimes win with this team personally. And I like to think I'm not the worst player in the world. So he obviously has a really good level of understanding for this team and has to be like a pretty decent player for this to all work, right?
He's got the training weights on. What if he just takes them off?
Exactly. This man's Rock Lee. Like, what happens if you just give him Herbig of Maridon and like let him loose, right?
Yeah. VJ just throwing her Shifu onto the team. I'm telling you, man.
I'm looking at that Galarian Zapdos, and I'm like, you know what could really work here? Really work. We should ask VJ to build with the OHKO server.
I was just thinking the exact same thing, Sierra. We need VJ in the OHKO team builder Discord.
Hey, like sometimes it works. Sometimes it works. That's awesome. Any other like teams? Sebastian, congratulations. Like I think Len was saying that like every top cut there has to be this cornerstone Screamtail Terrapagos Heatran team. And Sebastian, congratulations, is going to be that player.
Yeah.
This team's awesome. Groudon, Hisuian Typhlosion. I don't think I've seen a Hisuian Typhlosion since Joe and Reg H.
Yeah, I was going to say it's been since last year, you know.
Yeah, it's been a bit. Other than that, like teams just kind of look a little, you know.
Yeah.
There is some spice. And we're getting as much spice as we can for the near end of Reg G. But this makes me curious how like Seville's gonna pan out. So like if we are gonna see the same level of like spice, or if it's gonna be a bit more serious.
I think there'll be a little more balance out in Europe.
Boring.
You know? No, obviously some of the top players also use some crazy teams out there too. So we'll see. This is your last chance, right? If there was that one, if you thought for the last 8 months of Reg G, if you thought there was a time to break out Lugia as your one restricted or break out Kyurem White, now's your time, buddy. Like, go have fun in the last event.
Break the meta for the very end of it. But next thing, obviously Seville will be a lot of fun to see. There'll be a lot to talk about for next weekend. I'm going to Toronto for my birthday for the weekend as like a late celebration, so I don't know how much of it I'll be able to catch live. But want to try and go back and catch like as much of it as I can. But looking ahead for Reg I, because of course that's in NA what we're looking towards. Milwaukee is sooner rather than later. And there is Victory Road challenges that a lot of eyes on because of course this is the first snapshot of Reg I. There already was one which had a very big like Calyrex Shadow Rider and Zamazenta representation. And oh look, it's Calyrex Shadow Rider and Zamazenta in the first and second spot.
Wow. And it's Shohei.
Wow.
It's one of the best players on the planet. Shohei.
Throw back to Joe Brown meeting Shohei and embarrassing himself.
I didn't even meet him. That's the worst part. He was being interviewed.
You just embarrassed yourself.
I have to write this wrong one day. I have to meet Shohei. Oh my god, I'm so embarrassed just thinking about it.
One day. I believe in you. I believe
literally Shohei's team is like he has 4 of them from the world team with the back 4 half. And then he's got the 2 broken restricteds together. He's like, all right, I've won worlds with this crew. Let me just throw in some busted restricteds on the squad and win this event too.
I mean, it's just 4 such strong Pokemon. Like, regardless, you're like, oh, it's his world team. Like, yeah, okay,
but you don't see Qianpao as often in these formats as we used to. Like, we forget Qianpao used to be a massive Pokemon, and it is definitely not the same levels of dominance that it used to have.
I think Qianpao should be decently good coming up, though. Like, already seeing it on teams, like, with the Zamazenta, but a lot of teams are having Cali Shadow, and, like, Qianpao pressure is so good into that, right? Like, you just constantly have Sucker Punch into it, and then you're also having, like, so you have the synergy, not the synergy, you can go up against all these Cali Shadows, and you're good here, right? Icicle Crash, like, the Ice type, do so much. A little priority with Ice Shard actually does offer a lot of pressure as well. If you're looking at Landos, you're looking at Torn, etc.
And Fluttermane with
But
all the sashes.
yeah. But then also looking at Sword of Ruin and then that natural synergy with literally every other attacker on this team, the Zamazenta, the Urshi Water, and the Rillaboom is just really, really strong. So I think it's like Xianpao should have a bit more of a glow up going into this regulation. So
yeah, for sure. And I do like the Cali Shadow being Focus Sash makes sense with the Sword of Ruin on the team, right? You're going to have a lower defense anyway. So, this not bulky Pokemon's already going to take a lot of damage. So, put the Focus Sash on there and give it more survivability. And the Encore, that is very interesting to have it on your restricted. A lot of times you'll see the supportive moves on Whimsicott or Screamtail or like or a Clefairy or something, right? Like you put it next to your restricted and they try to disrupt. Having that super fast Encore can't be stopped by by fake out,
psychic
terrain,
right? Or Paragraph.
Exactly, yeah. Like I think that's
you can actually do that.
Really cool tech. The other thing now is like Zamazentas can no longer get away with just having body press as their only attack, which we saw a lot of Reg G Zamazentas just had body press. Now you have to run Heavy Slam or another type of attack. Obviously, Zamazenta is very heavy with you can just see how big of a boy he is there. But I do wonder because a lot of other restricted Pokemon are also very heavy because they're very large, right? So I don't know how much damage the Heavy Slam is doing into many of them, but you need it against the ghost types, and because if you just had body press, you're going to be screwed over. I think the big thing to me, looking at the teams here, is the betrayal. My king was known for running Taunt instead of Aqua Jet all of these years on Urshifu. With Worlds, 2 years in a row, always had Taunt instead of Aqua Jet. And something has happened to my king. Shohei has joined the dark side and has went back to the original Aqua Jet set. And I don't know what happened. Because I used to love looking at his team every time and like just having a little giggle. Like my guy doesn't know that Urshifu gets Aqua Jet or something. And now
he found out. he checked Bulbapedia and saw that it gets Aqua Jet and is like, oh damn, like that's crazy.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I feel like the double pressure, like, well, not double pressure, but the priority, just pressure from a lot of Pokemon on this team, I think is just really, really strong. We got to see, especially in early formats. I'm thinking back to, it was Alex Underhill that, what was it, like, just a team that had like 5 Pokemon with priority moves?
Yeah, that was right. That was the regional he won. Yeah, in Reg F.
Yeah.
The first Raging Bolt event. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was just like, that just off-put so much pressure, right? Going up against a lot of teams that maybe would outspeed, right? And having a lot of this priority means that you don't necessarily have to rely on the Torn, which bringing your Torn in a matchup, if you're already bringing 2 restricted, means you can only bring 1 other piece, right? So I like having all of these different little options. Something like, I'm very intrigued with the Cali Shadow, if this is just going to be a Shohei thing or if this is going to kind of catch on a little bit. Because the taunt was kind of back and forth. There was some people that did more so use the taunt on the Urshi.
Mm-hmm.
I really like the Encore on the Cali Shadow, but I'm kind of curious if you lose a little.
Right? And then Urshifu breaks Protect.
Yeah, but I'm more so curious because I'm thinking of like a passive turn in the match if you're talking about Encoring and Protect. Because if you're anticipating the other side is going to Protect, that's when Cali Shadow can then Nasty Plot. And then all of a sudden next turn you're fast and you got a +2 to your special attack, right? Whereas the way this one is playing out is a little less proactive because obviously you have to make that call that they're protecting on this turn, and instead is playing a little bit more reactive. But that then means the turn that they click Protect, the next turn, you're not attacking with this Pokemon, you're encoring, which then your opponent can react to, which then puts you back into having to kind of make reads, which I think I just don't necessarily like how that plays out as much as just standard awesome Nasty Plot on Cali Shadow. If you get the turn wrong, I'm clicking Nasty Plot and you lose, right? Yeah. So I'm curious. I don't think the VR was broadcasted. I could be wrong. I didn't look into it. But I'd be curious of how the Encore Cali Shadow played out and will play out in the future.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting. That fourth that fourth move has always been like the curious decision for Cali Shadow, right? Like even back to last generation, but specifically in Scarlet and Violet, it's Astral Barrage, it is a psychic type move of some kind, like the Psyshock, Psychic, whatever. And unless you were Terra Fairy with the Drain Kiss, remember Montana's, that whole arc in LA with that crew, like that was the fourth move, right? So you could have Nasty Plot, you could have Draining Kiss, you could have a whole bunch of different stuff, Substitute, whatever. I just can't run Substitute on a Focus Sash Pokemon. So the Encore, I also think there is merit in. We always talk about the 100% value Encore plays, right? Encoring someone into Tailwind or Trick Room, or encoring them into Protect, or encoring them into Fake Out and stuff. And so we always talk about that, but there's also value in encoring your opponent into a suboptimal attack, right?
Yeah.
Like, let's say you have a Dragon Pulse Miraidon on the other side, right? If you encore the Dragon Pulse, all right, your Cowering Shadow's Focus Sash doesn't care whatever the attack is anyway. But now your Zamazenta's cooking. Miraidon cannot, you're going to be doing resisted damage into that Steel type on the Dragon Pulse anyway. And that's just like one example I thought of off the top of my head, right? Or forcing Incineroar to stay clicking, knockoff on your Pokemon that have already had their items knocked off, or like Zamazenta cannot have an item knocked off, right? I think those are the other values on Encore that we don't talk about as often, is forcing them into a suboptimal attack. They cannot switch their attacks around. And also in the mirror, making sure that your opponent's Cali Shadow cannot click Astral Barrage too for 3 turns is pretty nice.
Yeah, like I'm a big Encore enjoyer. Like I played like Jump Level. I love Encore, right? Like I think it's a really fun move. But I just don't know for Cali Shadow if that's Pokemon I necessarily like it on. I guess you get like fun little situations too, where like somebody protects, you bring in Cali Shadow, and now they can either get encored or they have to switch. And if you attack, they just switched into an attack. But like, I don't know. I'm not 1,000% sold as of yet. But I guess if you really don't think that you need that boost, but I just think like how crazy it is if you get the turn right and you get a Nasty Plot and you just win on the spot. I think that's just like too nuts. Like,
well, yeah, and I think Shohei is at such a level, right, of play that he doesn't need to often win the game on one turn, like calling the turn 2 click Nasty Plot. He has other ways around. He has additional damage effectively by having Chien-Pao on the team, that the Urshifu and Zamazenta and Rillaboom just inherently do more damage. So now Cali Shadow doesn't have to do as much when Sword of Ruin is there for the rest of the crew. Like, who knows, maybe that Zamazenta might put in a lot of work, so you don't need to spend a turn Nasty Plotting, because Ash Barrage plus Body Press might be enough on its own anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I'm not sold. Maybe in Milwaukee, someone will roll up with Encore Cali Shadow, and I could see a little bit more of it and be like a little bit more sold on it. But I'm just a little apprehensive because, like, yeah, like I definitely think that if you're playing Cali Shadow and you need to click Nasty Plot, that's how you're going to lose the game, because you should have more options, right? But yeah. I think of when you're talking about you can lock opponents down with shutting this down, you can lock them down by doing this. That's still something that requires them to do something. Then you just spend a turn to click Encore, right? Yeah. So that's still minimum 2 turns, and then to lock them down to something else. You're getting turn 3, turn 4, turn whatever. Whereas like Cali Shadow, like click Nasty Plot, and then you can take 2 KOs.
Yeah.
Right? Or like, I don't know. I just think that you just do it faster to where you don't need to drag it out.
I get what you're saying. I also just realized, obviously, now that Chien-Pao can't have the Focus Sash, right? Because Cali Shadow has it. Usually Chien-Pao has the Sash. So having
it's a Life Orb.
Life Orb Chien-Pao is kind of nasty damage. And don't tell Riley that Shohei's running Icicle Crash, 90% accuracy instead of Ice Spinner, because obviously you can't run Ice Spinner. You have a Rillaboom on your team. You're going to be getting rid of your own grassy terrain. So many people are not. I don't think they're prepared for that additional 30% in the calcs. Maybe people are used to the Sash Sucker Punch or the Sash Icicle Crash, and that extra 30% from Life Orb might be the difference with how these Pokemon are trained.
I do think that extra damage is going to be crazy. The amount of times I've had to maybe switch in my own Chien-Pao, or like I've relied on needing to take a hit, considering like Chien-Pao kind of gets hit, right? Like when you're looking at that 4 times super effective to fight it, there's like all this stuff. Like I kind of rely on that focus sash a lot of the time. That is the big win con. You dish out a big attack, they bring you down to 1, you click Sucker Punch, you win. So curious, but I do think that definitely would mess with calcs, right? So that would be a good one, especially too if you're looking at a Chien Pao that is Jolly as opposed to adamant. So then you get the speed and you get that damage, whereas like sometimes people have to kind of go between the two of them, right? So it's like, oh, if you're adamant, then you're gonna get sped, but if you're, I think it's Jolly where it's like the lower special attack plus speed. I don't know. I always forget to the names. And you know what I'm trying to talk about. Like if you're doing that, then you're not doing the damage, but then you get the outspeed. So, oh.
Yeah, and Chien Pao is in that, you know, weird speed tier. We're back in Reg C, baby. We're back with all our 135s at this point. So, I think you gotta probably go Jolly. I don't know what Shohei is, but if you don't have the sash, you can't afford to.
You can't go second. You cannot go second. All right, looking at anything else. I mean, last time we looked over results, it was a lot of Cali Shadow and something Zamazenta being the main one.
Check out Juan's team. That's pretty much exactly what I'm talking about with Brute Bonnet on the glow up. With the Brute.
Oh yeah, Brute Bonnet, like this is 6th place from Alan as well. Like Brute Bonnet definitely has had a glow up.
Yeah, there's another.
But like you look at these other teams, like look at this. It's literally like here's a Raging Bull, but like that doesn't count, right? Like yeah, that's where like I definitely think when you're looking at Koraidon, that's where we can see the Brute Bonnet. We get the Flutter. I think those would be like the main two maybe that we see more so. But like on some of these other teams, like you just
and there's one Roaring Moon, like we said. No, he's not on the Koraidon
Ryan
team.
Lassetto. Ryan's played Roaring Moon before. I don't know how much I like Roaring Moon.
Like Roaring Lassetto, you know what I mean?
I see it. I see what you did. Margo Fierro. We got the Electric Ice.
Yeah, check out Juan's team. I want to see how this how the Ursaluna's looking there, because he's obviously it's more Trick Room focused, but then you have 2 fast Pokemon with Chi-Yu and Fluttermane. Chi-Yu still has the Scarf. Fluttermane is Focus Sash here. Lunala, this is, you know, Lunala we all thought was going to be a fantastic Pokemon heading into Reg I, and that's pretty much like the standard set. You see Moongeist, Meteor Beam, Wide Guard, and Trick Room. There's no, like, you don't really have room anymore to run Terra Fairy, Moonblast. Like, it's just the format's not going to give you enough time to set up Calm Minds and whatever. But I guess, have you seen the memes that Lunala found a new Lunadon partner? Because, you know, Groudon and Lunala won Worlds.
Oh, and then it's Koraidon.
And it's Koraidon now instead.
I have not seen that.
Poor Groudon got power crept by another Don.
Power crept? You mean just like absolutely bodied?
By another Don. He's been replaced in the Lunadon core.
Another thing that like the higher ups don't care about our lonely little game, because like we have like, you know, Lunadon and all this, and they're like, let's just introduce more Pokemon that have like Dawn at the end.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Koraidon and like Koraidon and like
nickname.
You have the Cali, but you have 2 different Calis, so it's like
Terra Water on the Ursaluna. I was gonna say probably for Urshifu to resist the Rapid Strikes, but I think that usually you'll see normal, you'll see Ghost, you'll see like I don't know, not grass, but like just random stuff. It's usually normal and Ghost are the 2 most common on Ursaluna, so that's interesting to have a Terra Water.
Yeah, make sure you just don't get bodied by an Urshifu.
And then the Terra Normal for Fluttermane to avoid Astral Barrage. Because, yeah, with having Fluttermane and Lunala on the team, like Astral Barrage is kind of fodder for them. So you need Chi-Yu's Dark type, you need Brute Bonnet's Dark typing as well.
Yeah. All right. Looking at other stuff. Still got a Ditto. Let's go.
3
restricted. 3 restricted. All right. Got an Iron Valiant.
Yeah, I think people are really like just honing in on, like, especially if you're using one of the Scarlet and Violet legendaries, like you're just making the whole team. You have Miraidon with Iron Valiant and Iron Hands, and you know what I mean? Like you're just, and then Electric Seed for Rigorath, like you're just really honing in those spots. That's interesting in the usage, Sierra, that the new Lunadon, Koraidon Lunala, is at 12% of day 1. And
goes up to 16.
And 16 in day 2.
Yeah, no, that's a pretty good little jump. And the the other Lunadon, the Lunala Miraidon,
That's right.
did not have the greatest conversion. Only 1 out of 20 made it. Kyogre, again, to be the biggest fraud, and like whatever you call this team, Swordfish, I like
Swordfish.
dog water because it's actually very
Oh.
reminiscent of how this pair is, considering it did not day 2.
Straight dagger to my heart calling it dog water. Oh,
it's true though. It's true.
no, you're not wrong, but the truth hurts sometimes.
I've been like the first Reg I team I picked up was Basha and Kyogre, and it's just like it sucks. It just sucks.
What
I think
what about it? Is it because the other legendaries are faster? Is it? Well, I guess Ashen's pretty fast, so.
I think part of the issue is like Sun is just so strong, and there's a lot more Pokemon that have synergy with the Sun, and then Kyogre, like when you have Groudon and you don't have the Sun up, it's like all right, but like realistically, you can still click Precipice Blades, which is the strongest move, so it's like all right, you just can't click Heat Crash or like whatever. Like it's not the end of the world. Like the Sun with Groudon is to more set up other things, whereas Kyogre, you need your own rain to do anything, and then the Sun just so heavily suppresses you. So all of a sudden, the Sun comes out. You can't click Origin Pulse. You can't click Water Spout. There was a version of the team that was Hydro Pump as the third move, and then Protect. So you can't click Hydro Pump either, or you click Ice Beam, which depending on what Pokemon's out on the other side, ain't really that great.
Zamazenta doesn't care about Ice Beam, yeah.
Yeah, like a lot of Pokemon that are really strong and powerful right now don't care about Ice Beam, and it's not like you get Stab or anything. It's not like you're a Water Ice type, so you also get Stab on that. Like you're pure Water, so it's not good. And then you're at a weird speared tier anyways in comparison to some, so you're already, if you lose the Weather War, you can't do anything. Okay, you win the Weather War, there's a strong possibility you still can't do anything. And it just kind of feels bad all around. And then I just don't think that Zacian does enough to like counteract that. Like your rain doesn't really set up the Zacian in any sort of way. It just makes it so you don't get bodied by fire. Okay, well there's sun everywhere, so you're still gonna get bodied by it. And it's just like I feel like Zacian just isn't doing enough to carry it. It feels like a very one restricted team, and you're just always gonna lose out if that's the case. Like the wins that I've taken, I feel are just like more so I've played really, really well and not because the team has been good.
It's just so, like, the Zacian is so frail compared to Zamazenta, right? That, like, there's survivability with Zamazenta, there's consistent damage, where, like, Zacian, you Behemoth Blade into the wrong Protect, and you don't get another chance. At least,
you're done. You're
Zamazenta might body press into a Protect or a Ghost type, or, all right, I'll do it again next turn. Like, I'll do it again. Zacian's like, you make one wrong call on a switch in, you Behemoth Blade a fire type Koraidon, you go for the Water Spout as Koraidon's, the sun gets set up or something, or somebody terras out of it. Like also the fact that Miraidon and Koraidon, or I guess both of them resist water inherently as dragon types, right? Like it's a tough spot for sure for Swordfish. I refuse to use your terminology for my friends.
Yeah, and it's just like Play Rough isn't as strong and it's not accurate. And then Behemoth Blade, like, sure, it's good against some things, but like you also look at the overwhelming amount of Pokemon that like to like Terra Fire right now, or even just like the most notable one that's going to struggle with being Koraidon wanting to like Terra Fire.
Yeah.
Like,
what
you're not hitting that. You're not going to get a chance to hit it with the Kyogre because it's overridden your weather. Like, no. And then even if you do win out that Weather Ward, then they could probably hit you with another move. Then you have to rely on hitting Origin Pulse. Like, it's just all around just doesn't feel great.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
So, yeah, because, like, you look at usage of Pokemon in general, Koraidon's at third. We got Cali Shadow, Miraidon, and then, Cali Shadow, Miraidon, then Koraidon at, like, the top usage, which, technically, this is scaled by their day 1 restricted usage. Day 2 restricted usage, Koraidon would actually be in second place with 32% as opposed to Miraidon's 30%.
And Lunala also is tied on day 1 with Koraidon. They both have 25.68 entrants on the team. You wonder how many of them, since we saw the synergy together in Cut, you wonder how many of those Lunalas have a Koraidon with them. And I think it definitely makes sense, their synergies. Yeah, we see 32 of those 68.
There's only 2 that aren't with Koraidon. 1 is with Miraidon, and then 1 isn't listed.
Well, even looking at, if you go back up, there's 20 Lunala Miraidons and 32 Lunala Koraidon teams, so that's 52 of the 68 Lunalas are using one of the Scarlet Violet legendaries. Like, I think people have figured out.
I was going off day 2.
Yeah. But like, people have figured out, like, as Lunala was great last generation, and even the generation it came out with using the really strong restricted and being your secondary restricted, like, you're putting Lunala next to Miraidon or Koraidon and letting them sweep, and letting Lunala be a secondary sweeper that stops Astral Barrage and stops Glacial Lance and, all these other things. I think that's what I was so excited for, to see how Lunala would do in this format. I think it's gonna keep putting up those numbers.
Yeah, Lunala is definitely one of those Pokemon that, like, people expected would start actually pulling its weight a little more in, like, Reg I. The fact that it already had a glow up in Reg G before the end of it was then even more, like, proof in the pudding, right? Looking at the non-restricteds, though, and reminder, it goes, like, down, then, like, back up. But, I mean, you got the big 3. Incineroar and Rillaboom are actually for day 2 usage, tied for first, and then Urshi Rapid Strike at 32%, so third place. But it was these 3. You get double restricted. This is where I just haven't been having fun with the format, because it's like, all right, pick 2 restricteds, and then let's just pick 4 Pokemon from the top 10, and you probably can't go wrong.
Yeah, you probably just go top 3. You go Incineroar, Urshi, and then you choose your spice. Is it Cornerstone? Is it Fluttermane? Is it Tornadus?
You get to pick 3 from this side.
Yeah.
And then if you really want to be spicy, you can pick a 4th from this one.
Exactly.
Depending. And if you're going on here, then, like, I mean, they did not have a great day 2 conversion, is all I'm saying.
More power to you, Iron Valiant and Galarian Weezing.
Chien-Pao, though, day 1, only 6% of the field. Day 2, 14%. So, yeah, again, Chien-Pao on the teams it's on. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. Like, Chien-Pao, before, it was just, like, kind of a splashable offensive Pokemon, and now it is very much like, no, I have Zamazenta, I have Urshifu, I have physical attacking Pokemon that need that additional damage to succeed. So now, I think I like that Chien-Pao is in a different spot, because people aren't prepared for it as much. I do wonder how Raging Bolt's going to do in this format, right? Because, like, similar to Reg G, it has the exact same typing as Miraidon, and Miraidon's just stronger, but also it doesn't get Thunderclap, so that's the one value that Raging Bolt has. It's better on a Trick Room team, and it also has priority over it, so I wonder how, like, maybe some of these, but then, well, Koraidon's never really a dragon type, right? You're always tearing it to fire. So I was saying, like, put Koraidon, Raging Bolt together, you have share a weakness, but really they don't. Like, I guess they would share ground weakness, but they wouldn't share the fairy weakness. So I think that could work, putting Raging Bolt on these Koraidon Protosynthesis teams.
Yeah, Koraidon hits the field and it tears. Just done. Instantly. But yeah, any other thoughts about Reg I so far?
No, nothing crazy. Like, I was playing last night on Showdown a little bit, trying to build a spicy team, which this could transfer to our OHKO team discussion here. And it came to me in a dream, Sierra. I was like, what if Dialga is next to Ursaluna with telepathy, and you can just Earthquake next to Dialga the whole time? And you know what? It worked out pretty well. Now, yes, I'm in the dredges. I'm in the low tables here on Showdown, because it was my first ever batches of Reg I, so I'm starting out at the bottom, as low as humanly possible. But I was winning my games. I was the team. All I'm saying, the team, there is a shell of possibility. There's a kernel of truth with this team that I'm like, all right, this Ice Rider Dialga team could possibly work together, because they do have synergy together, right? The Dialga doesn't really care about Zamazenta at all, because the body press is only neutral. It's actually really good typing into Miraidon, because the electric attacks are resisted and Draco Meteor is only neutral. Again, that steel typing is using a lot, or is putting a lot of work in, I should say, for Dialga. And even though the form is just like dreadful to look at, it is just so unappealing looking at the origin form Dialga.
It's so bad.
Its stats are just inherently better. It takes stats out of attack and puts it into special attack and makes you bulkier as well. Like, you just, even though it's uglier, you have to use that version of it because it's just statistically significantly better than the original Dialga. So all I'm saying is there is potential there.
When you're talking about Dialga and like the stuff in like the take from attack and special attack, one of like the struggles, there's like a bunch of different VGs, a little story time.
Okay.
A bunch of little like VGC things that was just like difficult to remember, right? It's like stupid things. Ranks are into dark types, unaware, like little things like that. And one that was really silly was like a lot of like generations, it'll be like one special attacker and one physical attacker for like the box legendaries, right? You have Groudon Kyogre, right?
Like, Lugia, yeah.
Yeah, Ho-Oh Lugia. You have Miraidon Koraidon. Some sense is actually an exception to that. But the other exception was Gen 4 with Dialga and Palkia.
Right.
And a Dialga looks like it could be a physical attacker, like, in my opinion. Like, Palkia never did. Like, I knew this one was special, but, like, the Dialga, I would always mix that up. And I would always be caught off guard, and I just never, yeah. And then one of, like, the commands in my Twitch chat is, like, Palkia is special because it's spatial, and Dialga is special because it's about time you remember that.
Nice.
That's what I think of every time. I'm thinking that.
It's
about time you remember that. Yeah. So
well, yeah.
Little story time.
Giratina's physical, right? So at least they have some physical legendary in Gen 4. It works out. Yeah.
That's a little story time there.
So basically, I bring up our Dialga story to tell everybody we're gonna have a poll for the next OHKO team building session. Now, I'm gonna be honest, chat. We've already had some interesting conversations. People want to throw Eternatus out there. They want all these programs. I'm just nipping it in the bud to begin with.
The round doesn't like fun everybody. Exactly. The team has to be somewhat
I like
competitive.
To have fun. I have fun. I have fun while winning, right? That's where I have my fun. And not obviously, I'm not here. Clearly, in my history, I'm not the tryhard. I'm not the one that only uses Incineroar, Urshi plus the 3 other best Pokemon. Like, I do use silly Pokemon. I went to a regional with Choice Scarf Diggersby. Okay, like, so don't come at me saying that I'm not, because in my head, because Scarf Lando was everywhere, Sierra, and Diggersby had huge power, and so it's technically was like 3% stronger Earthquake than Scarf Lando had because of the huge power doubling the stats. And now, obviously, it's nowhere near as good as Landers, but in my head, I'm like, this is a stronger Scarf Earthquake than Landers provides. So I did bring a Scarf Diggersby to a regional, and you know what? It didn't perform that well, but the rest of the team was solid. Anyway, I bring it up to say, I am not the tryhard. However, I'm also not trying to lose on purpose with some of the team's suggestions. So our poll, we're going to leave it up for interpretation. We're going to have this in the description. For our main restricted on the team, you get 2 per team. We're voting on which secondary restricted we would like on the team. Now, yes, obviously, we're going to build around that Pokemon, so you could argue it's our first, whatever. You know what we mean, chat. It is either Dialga, obviously origin form, or Ho-Oh, or Groudon are our 3 options. I'm giving you Ho-Oh. I'm giving you the slice that you want, chat. I've seen it in Discord. You want to build around Ho-Oh. I'm giving you the opportunity. Put your money where your mouth is. Answer the poll. It's either Ho-Oh, Groudon, or Dialga will be our secondary restricted. So there's still some flexibility. You can still have your fun. I have a feeling I know how this poll is going to go. But, we'll see what happens, chat.
Yeah, so make sure to get those votes in if you wanna chat and argue about the direction of the team, the OHKO team with everyone else. And if we actually get a proper direction and get an actual team done, then a rental and everything else will be made. So you can go ahead and play that.
I will have a caveat here. If we do not have if Ho-Oh wins and we do not have a rental made for this format, because sometimes the Pokemon we choose end up with no rental because people go in 14 different directions and we don't have a solidified answer, then the next format is no silly time. The next format we're getting sweaty. So put your money where your mouth is. You want to bet Ho-Oh, you better make sure that we end up with a rental Ho-Oh team that we can put out into the world.
There was players playing Ho-Oh. I think Utah, world's finalists, had Ho-Oh at a recent event. There was 2 Ho-Ohs in the top cut of it. It's just like an online, like smaller, like grassroots thing. I tried to find it actually before podcast for this discussion. I couldn't find it, but
yeah, I mean there is potential there. I'm aware of it, and just we got to untap that potential as a group, as a community.
Yeah. All right. Was there anything else that we had to discuss? So you said that we weren't going to do predictions, I think, for Seville.
No.
So is it just a question of the week?
I think it's just a question of the week at this point.
Winning restricted. Let's at least say that. I'm going to say we're going to end it with bang. It's going to be Koraidon.
Okay. I think it'll be...
actually, but like Terrapagos with like... Because that's where like the Heatran Screamtail team originated. I'll actually say Terrapagos.
All right, I'll say Koraidon then. I think Koraidon's on a little bit of a stretch right now on the home stretch of Reg G. That's going to be my prediction here. For our question of the week, would you want to go with? Did you want to go with the...
You can pick. Okay. I talked about a couple of the ones that I liked. You can pick.
Yeah. I think this is relevant to our conversation earlier with our bathroom conversation, so I think it works here. Squid Blue asking in the chat, and for anyone just joining the podcast for the first time, we have a question of the week channel in our Discord server linked down below. So if you ever have any burning questions that you would like CRI to answer at the end of every podcast, it's not to be Pokemon related, could be casting related, could be other games related that we like. Let us know. Ask us in the question of the week channel. This is from Squid Blue, and they're asking, this came up for me as someone who watches streams. What is it like for you when random people recognize you when you are playing and or casting events? So this is similar to you talk about, you wear a hoodie to go to the bathroom because people might recognize you, but sometimes you're fine being recognized. You're okay with people saying hi.
Yeah, I think it's always cool. At this point, like, I'm still grateful every day for what I do, but at this point, like, going to an event like this is just part of our lives, right? And then it's like it's a moment of like, wow, okay, like I'm getting recognized for like, this is cool, right? So I'm always like super, super grateful for it. I always like tend to be a little bit awkward, so I always I'm a little stressed when meeting people. But I think overall it's just like a really, really cool feeling, and it's just like, I don't know, if like someone takes the time to be like, hey, like I enjoy listening to you like cast, or like, hey, I listen to your podcast. It was really cool at Atlanta. I know I talked a little bit about meeting people at Atlanta, but like people were telling me like when and where they listened to the podcast, right? Or like, this is when I started listening. And it was like cool to hear how like this little project that we started was a part of people's weeks. It was a part of their life, right? And it was just like a very like, wow, okay, like I want to do better, I want to be better, like type of moment, right? So it's very cool. It's very like, even if like going to a Pokemon event will sometimes become normal, people coming up to me, like us, and just being like, well, like I'll say me, I can't speak for you, but like I'll just say us, like people come up to us as like a moment of like, wow, I actually am doing something really cool, and like this is like really cool to get recognized for this, and like I don't know, like I really appreciate it,
No, absolutely. I think I'm in the same boat as you. I think it's a weird feeling because I don't know how to express this properly. Like, I for many years was a nobody in this scene, and I don't want to put it in a negative sense. I don't know how else to express it. Like, I was just a dude playing at my locals and playing in 2 regionals a year, and having fun and just loving the game, and building Mega Pinsir teams, and like playing with the Mega Blastoise, and all this. And like, I first like if I had a Wikipedia page of the early ages and this, like I've had 2 very separate eras of my Pokemon career, and I'm so appreciative of that, because the first half compared to the last half has been drastically different, and I'm very much appreciative of being recognized. Like, I never take it for granted. I think it's always nice if somebody comes up and they're like, man, your commentary is awesome. Like, I always love when you're casting, because that's the goal, right? Like, I'm in this for the entertainment aspect. Like, I Sierra and I, whenever we're working together, like we always try to have the mindset, like this match is better because we're casting it. Like we're going to improve the entertainment. We're going to make this match more memorable. We're going to make it a better time simply by being here. If it wasn't here, if we weren't here, the viewers would be having less fun, having that mentality. Of course, it's not always true. Sometimes matches are going to be bangers regardless of who's there. So always keep that mentality. So whenever someone comes up and like appreciates the effort that we're putting in, it's kind of like, all right, you're getting that feedback that yes, like I am doing the right thing. I am like, we're accomplishing our goals. And I think within Pokemon events, it's always cool, when people come up like, at this, not that it's expected, because sometimes like people just like look at you, which is whatever. I think it's interesting, and I wanted to know your take, because obviously you do Valorant and you do so many other things that like getting recognized outside of Pokemon events. What are your thoughts there? Because I played in a One Piece store championship last week, and I got recognized. I just moved up here to Rochester, right? Like, so that was my first time going, and I got recognized by 3 different people in a One Piece trading card game tournament for my Pokemon video game commentary, right? So like that's a cool experience to me, that like I'm not even in my own element. I'm not in the environment which you would expect someone to recognize me. So I wonder how it works with you, because obviously you could be recognized from a bunch of different areas.
Yeah, it's a cool feeling. Like the first time that really happened, I was actually working at a Yu-Gi-Oh event. I was part of like the not judging stuff, because it's like I didn't have judge qualifications, but like I was doing like match inputs and like that sort of stuff, and just like general whatever I could do, right? And I had a couple people recognize me, and one even knew I was going to be there and brought a card for me to sign, even though it was at a Yu-Gi-Oh event, right? So that was like the first like time that outside of Pokemon it got recognized. So that was like cool, but it was still gaming sphere, so it was like super cool. But I've only been recognized like once, like out in the wild, which this one I still think was so cool. I was in Seattle. It was my mom's 50th. This just happened like last summer. And we went to Seattle. I surprised my mom there. So I was there with my mom and my 2 sisters, right? And the next day we went to the Starbucks like roastery, like the big flagship roastery in Seattle. My mom had never been, my sisters had never been. They're all big coffee people, right? And I was standing there with my one sister as my mom was getting a coffee, and somebody at the roastery came up to me to tell me that they were a fan and like wanted to introduce themselves while I was there with my sister, right? And that was like the coolest thing, because like that doesn't happen. Like that like I do not go to the grocery store and get recognized. Like that is not a thing, right? Like it's at events we'll get recognized, and that's super cool, it's super humbling, but like I live in my small town and I go about my day and I don't get recognized. Awesome. But then being out with my family and then being recognized for the first time, they don't know that I don't get recognized out in public. And I don't live close to my family. I don't go out to public with my family. So the first time I'm out in public and somebody comes up to me, you're Sierra Dawn, right? My family, they were like, she actually like doing enough that she gets recognized out on the streets. Like, bro's a celebrity. Like, I don't know. That was a really cool moment. Like, that one was one where it was like, man, this doesn't happen, but like, I'm so glad it happened right now, because they were just like,
that literally the exact same thing happened. It's like being recognized with your family is almost like worse than being recognized, because they're like, oh, you get all embarrassed or whatever. Like we were in Akihabara after Worlds in 2023. We were just at a train station. Like we were staying there post Worlds. Like we were there for like 4 or 5 days, having fun, like traveling around, whatever. And just a person came up to me. I think he was a Filipino person. I can't remember what country he was from, but and remember, I didn't cast Worlds in Japan, right? So like, it's not like he just saw me on screen or whatever, right? And we're in Akihabara, it was just not where Worlds was, and it's post Worlds. People probably went home, and he was like, "Hey, are you Joe Brown?" And I was like, "Oh yeah," well, and like I'm with my brother, and we're just like my family has never lived down that story that like I got recognized in Japan at an event I wasn't casting at, you know what I mean? Post World, post event, like so. That's the amount of reach you can have, right, in this world. Like being online is that like you could get recognized at Starbucks, you get recognized in Japan, like wherever you are, somebody might. And I think Wolf has a great perspective on it. Like we've talked to him, and he talks like, even if it's the 10th person coming up to you in your day and like it's their first time talking to you, right? So even though someone else like, oh, I'm so whatever, blah, 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 if people are coming up to me, like that is still their first interaction. They're excited to talk to you and introduce themselves and say they're a fan of the podcast or whatever. So, always have that humbling experience. Like, remember, even if it's the fourth person you're giving stickers to today, like this is the first time you're giving them stickers. This is a memory. This is a moment that like they're going to tell their friends, oh, I got this sticker from the OHKO team, or so, so keep that in mind.
Yeah, it's definitely for me, like, unless I'm actively in the middle of something, like, I love to, like, meet people and be able to, like, have a conversation. EUIC, where it was tough, was I was stage hosting for that, and they would send me out on the floor to find somebody for an interview, and then someone would see me, and they're like, oh, hi, Sierra, like, I want to, like, take a picture, and I'm like, I wish I could. But I have production like in my ear right now being like, if you're not camera in 1 minute, we're kicking you out of this event. Obviously not exactly that, but they were like, it was time crunch, right?
Yeah.
Like it was, but like with every single one of them, I'm like, I have to find someone for this interview and do this interview. If you stick around here, I will come find you and say hi after. But like, it was like, I wasn't stressed out about meeting the person. It was just like, I have a job to do. And like the same reason why I'm staying at Atlanta, like I have to go to the washroom, like hood on. Like there has been times where like, you go out on the floor to just do like part of your job and then like you're getting like actually like bombarded at some points. There was one where like I had to like I think it was like an interview with Wolf out on the floor and Wolf got someone to escort him back and then I didn't and then I got I'm like, what? I was supposed to be back there too, but I didn't think that's what happened, right?
Yeah.
But always try and like make time to make the best because it's like, yeah, I want to make sure like I appreciate it. I mean, like wouldn't have what we have without people watching and listening, right?
Absolutely.
I think the only time it ever actually like annoys me is at the hotel after the event because I'm very at that point. It's been a long day. I'm like, bro, like the only thing I'm thinking about is getting up to my room, and like opening a bag of chips or like chocolate and just sitting down in bed. Like my feet hurt, my voice hurts, like my contacts are dry. And then someone stops me in the lobby and I'm like, bro, I'm like, same thing. And I'm like, this is the first time they're talking to me. So yes, I'm going to be here. Like nice. Like there's no bad intent, but I'm like, I'm so close to my bed.
Yeah.
I'm so close to my bed. And like, there's like a mindset where it's like the hotel is like my home for the weekend. So I'm like, this is my home and I just want to go to bed and I'm getting stopped.
My home.
Yeah. But like again, it's never malicious or like, oh, I'm actually like mad. It's just like a little like, I'm so close to my bed, but I always say hi. But the only thing that's like, some people will be like, oh, you're in the hotel, so you're off work. So you now really have time and chat. And it's like,
now I can
I'm
tell
sorry.
You what happened
like,
to me in round 3. I got it.
I'm like, I'm sorry. My bed is right there. I'm not going to sit in the lobby and talk to you for 20 minutes. I'm sorry. Like, I'm not that type of person to sit there and talk with 20 minutes with someone I don't know anyways, let alone my bed is right there.
That's fair.
So, yeah. Other than that, it's cool. It's a really
It's always
cool
an awesome feeling for sure.
Yeah. That was a long answer because we got little sub conversations, but
hey,
good question
people,
of the
people
week
like
here.
a good question of the week. That's what I hear.
Good question of the week. And yeah, I mean, we at the beginning of the podcast, you were like concerned that we wouldn't talk enough, but like
this is what we do.
We chatted so much, but the sun is still shining outside. I have to go sit on my back porch, get a little bit more sun, even though like I got a little red on me. And I got to do more Sudoku puzzles. So we're going to wrap this one up. But if you made it to this point in the podcast, thank you all so much for listening to us ramble as always. If you're interested in joining in on any of the conversations or having your own question of the week or joining in on building the OHKO team, including voting, make sure to get that in. You can join the Discord. The link should be in the description. Again, thank you all so much for listening and supporting. If you are, I guess, probably have already traveled to Seville, but if you're competing, you have competed, you're traveling back whenever you're listening. Hope you had fun. Hope you have fun. Safe travels. We'll see you all next week for the next episode of OHKO, everyone. Take care.